Hey guys, welcome to this Q&A video. If you guys want to ask your questions, all you have to do is go down to the description and follow the link to the Facebook fan page where you can type your questions and I'll answer them on this show. Before I get into the questions, you might be wondering about the glasses. These are my new Gunner Optics scopes, which I just got yesterday. They came in. You'll notice these are the same kind of glasses that a lot of pro gamers wear. You know, you see them in StarCraft tournaments and stuff like that. The purpose of these glasses are that they protect your eyes from the eye fatigue you get from long-term gaming or simply being on a computer for a very long time. Because my job and all my hobbies and everything are all in front of the computer, that means that my eyes get pretty worn out. So, yeah, this is probably a good investment for me. So that's nice. So you'll probably see me wearing this a lot, actually, for the sake of being able to work longer. On to the questions. I got a lot since last time. It seems like every time I do one of these videos, I get more questions before I do the next one. So these might start getting pretty long. But I've decided to do this one nice and early in my work day, so that, what was it? Early in my work day so I can warm up my voice with this. Lewis asks, Mah-Dry, would you agree that Chris Benoit X drugs are the OTP? Also, for a serious question, any tips for someone who isn't very good at playing Civ 5? In parentheses, vanilla. Yes, Chris Benoit and drugs are the OTP. And also, tip for someone who's playing Civ 5 and wants to get better, and it's vanilla. Well, here's a tip that'll help you no matter what. Make sure your capital has a... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having digestive problems recently. Right, tip. Make sure your capital has a very high population. The other cities don't necessarily need to have too high a population, kind of depends on what the city is. Generally, you want to have one next to a mountain that has a high population if you get a chance. That can be a science city. But you want your capital to have a really high population, especially if you went tradition, which in most cases I would suggest you go tradition. It's always a good choice. Jacob asks, hey MDB, what do you think of the new stable of Xavier Woods, Kofi, and Big E? Also, will you ever do the new Scooby-Doo WWE movie? Or would I ever review the movie? I don't know, I don't really do reviews, and I don't have any thoughts on the new stable because they haven't done anything yet. So, I don't really see how anyone could have any thoughts on it. Kanjo asks, here's another round of questions. 1. What was your favorite Pokemon Blue exclusive Pokemon? I don't know. 2. What do you think of Mewtwo in the first gen? I thought it was pretty cool. The Pokemon was actually based off Gygus from Mother, or Earthbound Zero, as is sometimes referred to as now. So yeah, that's actually what Mewtwo is based heavily off of, which is pretty cool. And 3, did you happen to exploit the glitches in Blue? When I was a kid, and I had my Blue version, everything, my sister has a Red version, we exploited some of the glitches, like on the playground. A lot of the kids knew a lot of them, but this, like, especially where I grew up, not many people had the internet, because I grew up in a very small village. Even then, it would have been, what, late 90s? So, most people didn't have the internet anyway. Internet was still, like, expensive and you paid by the hour and wasn't very good. So, we didn't have websites like, what's it called? GameFAQs. I don't think GameFAQs even existed yet. I think GameFAQs was made in, like, 2003 or 2004. So, that didn't exist yet. And we knew some of the glitches. I don't know how people knew. The word just kind of spread by word of mouth on the playground. I knew the missing no glitch, and that was fun. I kind of knew the duplicating glitch, but I never really did that one. Like, I understood how to do it, but I would never abuse that one, simply because I didn't find it interesting, but I know people would. Like, a lot of people in the playground had, essentially infinite Master Balls. I mean, they could always duplicate it again if they needed to. Almost everyone knew Missing No, and I had caught a few Missing No Pokemon. They never fucked up my game. Although I have heard, according to some online sources like Bulbapedia and stuff, they can corrupt save files and crap like that. Nothing permanent, you can restart your game, but still. So, yeah, I did a few, but we didn't know nearly as many glitches back then as we do now. Lagan asks, did you enjoy the do you enjoy the Super Smash Brothers franchise? I like the first one. I like Melee. I don't like Brawl. And if so, what are your thoughts on the new one coming out this fall? And if there are any specific characters you want in the game? I'm guessing you're saying characters. What are my thoughts on the new one? I don't really have any thoughts on the new one because it's not out yet, so I haven't been able to play it. And are there any specific characters you want in the game? Not particularly. Captain Falcon's already in it, so I'm happy. Will asks, do you plan to see Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods? Well, it's already been out in Japanese for a long time with English subtitles. I can tell you that movie is fucking terrible. Nero asks, do you love me? I don't know you. Kimo asks, I honestly don't understand what's so bad about Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Can you tell me why it's so bad? I'd love to know. Oh yeah, what makes homing attack so bad also? Sonic Adventure 2 Battle has a lot of problems. Is one of the better 3D Sonic games. But that being said, it's the track record of 3D Sonic games is pretty bad. Like, don't get me wrong, like, a lot of people go into the hyperbole and say, like, oh, it's the same thing as Sonic 06. No, it's way better than Sonic 06. Sonic 06 was fundamentally broken. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is not fundamentally broken, but it's heavily flawed. Well, first I'll go into the homing attack thing because I can explain that really fast. Here's the problem with homing attack, other than, of course, that it plays the game for you. It means that in every single stage in which you use a character with homing attack, so Sonic or Shadow in that particular game, half the puzzles are just keep hitting the A button. It's, you hit A to jump, and then you hit A to homing attack, and then you homing attack across a line of things in the air. That is the puzzle. That is half the puzzles now, is just repeatedly hit the A button. There is no challenge, it's lazy design, and it opens it up so that they can be lazy. It sucks, and on top of that, there's always that, like, 1 in 30 chance of you're lined up perfectly, you homing attack just like every other homing attack, and for some reason this time, you kind of jitter a little bit in the air. You don't necessarily touch the control stick, the game just does this sometimes, and you'll do a semicircle around the target, stop momentum, because you ran out of time on your homing attack, it only lasts for like 75% of a second or something, so you do a semicircle around it, and then just fall. And because when you're doing the homing attack across a line of enemies, if it's part of like the puzzle of getting to the next part of the stage, that means you're usually over water or spikes or like some kind of pit that kills you. I guess there weren't really spikes so much in, there are very rarely spikes in Adventure 2 Battle. I think they're just the spiky enemies. But there's a death pit of some sort under you most of the time, so the game mechanic will just fuck you. And anyone who's played the amount of Adventure 2 Battle that I have, where I have literally played over 1,000 hours of that game, between my GameCube version and then later buying the Steam version when it came out on Steam the other year, I've literally played over 1,000 hours of that game. And when you've played for that long, that fucking semicircle falling into the water thing, it happens rarely, but it's happened to you so many cumulative times that it fucking pisses you off. Because you lost and it's not your fault. The game just fucked you that time. As for what the game overall is bad, lazy stage design, the plot is hilariously dumb. It's funny because, like, they tried to overcomplicate the plot and it didn't work. It just got dumber and dumber and dumber. The plot honestly doesn't make any sense. It's got fundamental flaws in it where it's just, like, it's one of those things where you can ask, where someone will say, I don't remember the plot being very bad, and I say to them, what's the plot? And then they can't describe it to me. The problem is, they can describe most of the plot to me. It's a bit convoluted, but they can explain it. Where they get lost is as soon as it gets to the the space station arc, and Shadow's backstory. No one can explain it because it's so poorly told to you that it's impossible to figure out what the fuck is going on. And Maria, if you, oh god, Maria, if you ask, what's the story about Maria? No one can answer that question. I've done research into it, and that's why I can kind of answer it, but even then, it's hard to describe. So the plot of it's bad, the gameplay is poor, the stage design is often quite lazy, the music ranges from really catchy to fucking horrible, the voice acting is awful, the lip syncing is awful, although the lip syncing is at least somehow better than the first Adventure Battle game, the first Sonic Adventure game, which is debatably a better game, actually, in terms of stage design, at least. Plot, the plot was less convoluted, so I'll give it that. The best thing about Adventure 2 Battle is the Chow Garden. As I've said 1,000 times, the Chow Garden is legitimately really, really awesome. Like, if the Chow Garden were its own video game, I'd buy that. It's really, really fun. You kind of have to be into that sort of thing, but like, if I'm willing to grind through the stage Iron Gate about 100,000 times to get the Chow drives just to make my Chow better at karate and racing, if I'm willing to actively do busy work just to progress more in that game, the Chow Garden part of the game, then it's well made, or at least it appeals to me. Alright, next question. Kimo asks, how do you view triple battles and rotation battles that were invented in Gen 5? I think they're pretty cool, actually. I'm a little surprised triple battles didn't happen sooner, because double battles happened in 3rd Gen, and I actually really liked double battles. It was a shame that they didn't happen very often. Triple battles, triple battles I think are less cool than rotation battles, because it just feels like a rehash of an idea. It's just double battles, bad, another one. And I know there's a lot of depth of strategy in that, but the depth of strategy in that pretty much only seems to be prevalent. That's not a word. Prevalent. Prevalent. I said it again. Prevalent is not a word. Prevalent. Prevalent. It only seems to be prevalent in like pro level game, and when I say pro level game, I mean you're not fighting like AI. You're fighting other professional Pokemon battlers. People who actually go to tournaments and win cash prizes for it. They've got crazy awesome strategy with it. That's the only time I think it's really that interesting. Rotation battles I think are pretty cool, though, because that adds another new depth to the battles that we haven't seen anything quite like it before in Pokemon. Alistair asks, is there a game or games that you like, but everyone else seems to hate for no apparent reason? I bet you there is or are, but they're not coming to mind right now. I actually pre-read that question, though, because I remember refreshing the page when I saw the questions were being answered, or written, rather, and I saw that question. It's from like a week ago now or something. I haven't thought of an answer since I read it. Laura asks, did something scare you as a child and still scare you to this day? Yes, I'm still afraid of big things underwater that you can't really make out, and very, very still water, because I can't swim. And I've almost drowned quite a few times. Cal asks, how old are you? I'm seeing this trend of people with My Little Pony avatars asking questions, A, without punctuation of any kind, and B, questions that are publicly answered all over the place, all over my profile. I'm 21, I'll be 22 in September 22nd. What game would you like to see as a creepypasta, asks George. I don't know. People ask this all the time. I have no answer for it. You could potentially make a good creepypasta out of probably any game. There's no specific one off the top of my head that I want to see. George also asks, who is your favorite character in the Fallout series and why? I've actually gone into this a little bit before, but despite me hating Fallout 3, and me thinking that Fallout New Vegas' writing is okay, but the gameplay is still absolute trash and it's buggy and awful, and me absolutely goddamn loving Fallout 1, 2, and Tactics, especially 1 and 2, my favorite character is actually Benny from New Vegas. He's written entirely by the people who did Fallout 2, actually, which is very nice, and it shows how strong his character is. But I just think his motivations, all of the different interactions you can have with him, depending on your different ways of talking to him. Of course, the voice actor's job with delaying the or with delivering the lines, everything about it. I don't want to talk too much about it, just because I don't want to spoil things about Benny in it. But as you see from the openings, this isn't a spoiler. From what you see from the opening cinematic of Fallout New Vegas, Benny is the guy you're hunting through the game. He is the guy who shot you in the head. That is what you see in the opening cinematic. Kim asks, this is a very sensitive question. A courtesy warning to you and those who are watching. The viewers have been warned. Alright. Almost out of water. That's my last sip. If you're in a committed relationship living with your significant other, then you masturbating to porn for the hell of it without her noticing because she or he doesn't turn you on anymore, can it be considered cheating? I'm going to break this down into two questions because it really is two questions. One is masturbating to porn when you're with someone else, like in a relationship, cheating, and then two, it's not really a question, but my statements in relation to the because he or she doesn't turn you on anymore thing. One, is masturbating to porn when in a committed relationship cheating. No, not at all. Porn is just a tool for a necessary human function. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's not cheating in any way. If you feel guilty about it or something like that, you should talk to your significant other about it and make sure that they don't feel guilty about it either. Because it's just a necessary human function that you're getting done. In fact, it's completely healthy, especially even if you're with a significant other, it's completely healthy to do. As for the if they're not turning you on anymore part, that's the problem in the relationship, not the pornography part. The problem here is if they're not turning you on anymore, there's something missing from your relationship here. Like, when you love someone like that, there are different personalities and types of people with different needs and wants and everything, of course. But for the most part, if they're not doing it for you to the point that they're going to porn and they say for the hell of it, something's probably wrong and they need to talk about it. It's not cheating, though. Kim also asks, how would you feel if you saw a meme featuring yourself? I guess I would think it's kind of cool. Kimo asks, do you consider yourself a true Canadian? Are you proud to be Canadian? I don't know what the hell a true Canadian would be. See, here's the thing. Canadians are not nationalistic at all. I think most countries are not, the populations are not very nationalistic nowadays, either in the United States and Ireland. People are very nationalistic outside of Ireland and the States right now. But do I consider myself a true Canadian? I'm born in Canada, so my nationality is Canadian, so I guess, in the legal sense. And am I proud to be a Canadian? It wasn't my choice to be born here. I don't see how that's something you can be proud of. It's not your choice. It's not even really my choice to still live here. I mean, like, I guess I've had opportunities to leave. It's a weird question. Oh, I missed a question. Kimo also asks, fun question. I give you three movies, and you tell me which one of them is worst, as well as why. 1, The Room, 2, Birdemic, 3, Battlefield Earth. This is actually a hard one to answer. All three movies were seriously made with the intention of making a good movie. Those are three things we know. I mean, Tommy Wiseau, the creator of The Room and lead actor in it, he says it was a dark comedy, but he originally said it wasn't a dark comedy. He was saying it was like a serious drama film. He only started saying it was a dark comedy when it got internet famous and everyone thought it was shit. So it was basically to save face. Birdemic, to this day, the writer of the whole movie and the director, and I think he was also director on set. He was a lot of things. He still thinks it's a good movie. And Battlefield Earth was obviously done seriously. So these were all movies done seriously that turned out really, really bad. I'm gonna say, see, this is a weird one because I'm gonna say Battlefield Earth is the worst because kind of depends on how you define a worst. For me, I would say Battlefield Earth is the worst because although technically, in terms of like technical quality, Birdemic is the worst quality. And in terms of acting, well, actually, the acting between the room and Birdemic is still worse. The thing is, Birdemic and the room are so bad that they're absolutely hilarious. So you get enjoyment out of that. With Battlefield Earth, it's really, really bad, but I don't find it funny. The Room, I can watch alone and think it's funny. Birdemic, I can watch alone and think it's funny. Battlefield Earth, I would only think it's funny if I'm watching it with friends and we're all making fun of it together. So that's the way I would consider Battlefield Earth the worst, because there's the least entertainment value in how bad it is. Seth asks, who's your favorite wrestler in Ring of Honor? I'm not really up to date on the Ring of Honor roster. I don't like Ring of Honor. I don't like that super no-selly, every spot is a high spot kind of wrestling. Thomas asks, hey Mah-Dry, what is your opinion on Kingdom Hearts, and do you think Square Enix and Disney mixed well together? I've gotten into this a little bit before. I've played Kingdom Hearts 1 for a very long time because people kept telling me, like, every time I went to quit playing it, someone would tell me, no, you're about to get to the good part. Apparently I never got to the good part because I was playing it while my computer was being repaired once, and then the day my computer was done being repaired, I never picked up the game again. I don't get the appeal of it. Like, I get some of the appeal of it. I can see how the gameplay would be fun to some people, but I don't know. The story was melodramatic and stupid to me. I didn't like the story at all. I didn't like the character design at all. The Disney stuff was kind of cool, although I still think Square Enix and Disney is the weirdest mix ever. People kept telling me it's a really hard game, so I played on hard mode, because there's normal mode and hard mode, so I've only ever played the game on hard mode. Still wasn't hard. I just had to grind a little bit in the beginning of the game, but after that I never had to grind again. I had to grind in Twilight Town, or whatever the hell the first place was called, before the first boss. And then either than that, the rest of it was just fine. And I think the last place I beat was Aladdin's Place? I think Aladdin's Place was the last one I beat. What did I do? I did Tarzan, I did Aladdin, I did Alice in Wonderland, I did Hercules. I think that's what I did. I think those are all the stages I did. I don't know. So I played like, 8-10 hours into that game, and it never got good. So yeah, I guess I see why some people like it, but I don't. Kimmo asks, on July 15th, you said in your Twitter you had one of the dumbest conversations of your life. What was it about? You don't have to answer if you don't want to talk about it, and sorry in advance for snooping. Well, it's not really snooping, it's a public tweet I sent out. Oh, God. It was this conversation with this guy. He messaged me on Steam. I don't remember his name. He's at Andrew Wu, I think he was. If you check the album of comments, you'll find the guy who called me a nigger. You remember that guy? He left a lot of stupid comments. The conversation was actually with that guy, but it wasn't that conversation I screenshotted there. He typed those after I finally just blocked him from Steam. I've never had such a frustrating comment. Or a frustrating conversation in my life with that fucking guy. He messaged me over and over and over, and I've never had someone assume so many things in a conversation. He was just saying things that he didn't know were true or not, and when I pointed that they weren't true, he would just, disregard it and say lol, and then keep saying other things that aren't true. It's insane. I don't know how he can hold a conversation at all. Eventually, I just said to him, I can't hold a conversation with you. And I deleted him. It's amazing that that guy, exists. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Like, I can't like word for word recap the conversation or anything, but basically the way it started to get really fucking stupid was he asked me if I like playing Killing Floor, and I was like, well, like I streamed it less than a week ago and it fucked with my computer massively. And he's like, well, that must be your computer's problem then because it works fine on mine. And I'm instantly pissed off at this point because it's like, wow, you didn't ask me anything about the problem. You don't know what happened. You don't know anything about it, but you're instantly blaming me. How about you like discuss it with me first? So what I say to him is like, no, because I was doing it during the stream, and Joe, who is not streaming, has a completely different computer, lives in Australia. He was having the exact same problems at the exact same time, whereas other people weren't having the problems. And he's like, yeah, that must be your fault then. I was like, no, it didn't always used to do this. They changed something in their game that broke it for some users. They have to fix that. And he's like, oh, well, give it time. And I was like, give it time. The last patch was like a month ago, and they haven't fixed this massive, massive issue. And he's like, well, they just found out about it now. And I was like, you have no reason to believe they just found out about it now. You have no proof or evidence that points towards that in any way whatsoever. Why would you assume they just found it now? And he just kept assuming like that over and over and over and over for things like over and over. It's insane. Like, he just assumed things with no rationale behind it. It's baffling to me. I've never talked to someone who does that. So rapid fire. So it was one of the dumbest conversations I've ever had in my life was with that guy. Eventually I just said, like, look, I can't talk to you anymore. I cannot hold a conversation with you. Like, it just doesn't work. I am unable to have a rational conversation with you. I just deleted them. And they started leaving all these asshole comments and called me a nigger. Thanks. Roger asks, about Sonic 06, what changes need to be made to make it a better game? Who would win in a fight, Mario or Sonic, with power-ups or without power-ups? And finally, have you played GTA 5? I ask because the game is hilarious and all the funny stuff you can do. Also, thank you for answering my question. I will have more in the future. Because that was 3 questions. What needs to be changed to make Sonic 06 a better game? Well, simply to make it a better game, you could fix any given problem the game has. However, to make it a good game, it needs a fuck ton of work. Honestly, I would just say scrap the game and start again. Because it's one of those things of it's fundamentally broken. What needs to be changed? Everything. The plot is both stupid and convoluted. No one can explain the plot. If I ask you what's the plot, you can't give me a summary of the plot. That's a problem, because it's convoluted, just like an Adventure 2 battle, although in Adventure 2 battle, its plot was somehow less convoluted than this one. The tonal shifts in it are horrendous. The controls are horrendous. The level design is horrendous. The glitches are horrendous. The entire game needs to be scrapped and remade. Who would win in a fight, Mario or Sonic with power-ups or with it, and without power-ups? Sonic, probably, in both cases. And finally, have you played GTA 5? Yeah. It's right here. I'm actually kind of pissed off about it, because it's a really fun game. I like it. I haven't played too much into it, but I've seen the entire game beaten, so I know the whole plot and everything. I like the game. I really don't like shooting using a like control pad. I really don't like that. I'm a keyboard and mouse kind of guy. My big problem with it is just that I was waiting and waiting and waiting for the PC release. And everyone knows the PC release is coming. I mean, the series originated on PC, and they've always said that they're always making a PC release. I mean, people seem to forget that with GTA 4. There was a huge delay on that one, too, where it took like 9 months for them to make the PC version because they want to make sure it's proper. So I waited like 10 months. And like they didn't announce the PC release yet. I was like, okay, it must be pretty far off then. I'm just going to buy a PS4 version and then buy the game again on Steam when it comes out on that. Less than a month after I bought the game on PS4, the Steam one gets announced and it's like coming fall. So it's just going to be like a year after the console one. I was like, fuck, I could have waited that long if I just knew. So that's annoying. So I'm still buying a Steam version. How long have you been with your fiance? Over 4 years now. Um, it was November 5th. Oh God, what year is it now? We don't really keep track. It was November 5th. I know because I asked her out on Guy Fawkes Day. Um, so November the 5th, I would have been like grade. Oh God, I was like grade 11? No, grade 12. Yeah, I was grade 12. Oh God. How long ago was that? 4 or 5 years? I think 4 years going on 5 years. Yeah, 4 years going on 5 years. Okay. Kimo asks, have you ever at least tried to wrestle anybody in the ring XD? I have no idea what you mean by that. Kimo also asks, what's the man bar thing that you say sometimes in your Flash Trash? That originated from Flash Trash Escape from the Moon. I was clicking around the screen. I accidentally clicked on my air meter that the game had, and I noticed there's the blinking, like, parser letting me know that I can type there. I was like, what the fuck? I started hitting backspace and it let me delete it. And then man bar was just, I put my hand on the keyboard to type in something funny, and man bar was just what happened. So it was just completely improvised. It doesn't mean anything. Well, now man bar means air. So, but that's because of my improvisation. Kim also asks, can you go in depth on the technical grammar thing? Is it I could care less or I couldn't care less? It's I couldn't care less. I could care less is the fucking stupid corruption of the statement that you hear in the States all the time that pisses me the fuck off. I couldn't care less was the original statement. What it means is I do not care, because you could not care less. Because there's nothing less than zero. You do not care at all. It's a way of saying I don't care. I could care less is what people in the States were saying. It doesn't make any sense because it means the literal opposite of what they intend to say. I could care less means you either care very, very little, all the way to it's the only thing you care about. The only thing it does not mean is you do not care, which is what they're trying to say is I do not care. But they're saying I could care less, which is the exact opposite. The only possible outcome of what they're saying is the one thing they're trying to say. I'm not saying all Americans say I could care less or anything, but that's the only country where that originated from. It's I could not care less. I couldn't care less. I fucking hate when people get that wrong, and I correct people on that all the time because it pisses me off. Do you sometimes watch your own videos, and what are your personal self-favorites? Very rarely, but sometimes I will go back and watch some Flash Trash videos of myself. And what are my personal favorites? I don't really have any favorites. Daniel Smith asks, are you going to play any more Payday 2? I play Payday 2, like, literally every day. If you just add me on Steam, you can play it with me. Daniel also asks, does Kemo ever get off Facebook? It got liked by Kemo. Kemo asks, why is the USA struggling with gun control? Probably because they've perpetuated a culture of everyone needs a gun and they've done nothing to fight it. Like, in 1996, Australia had the same problem, but what they did was they just passed legislation to make gun control stricter. And yeah, a lot of people got angry at first, but they've never had a gun slaughter since, which means there's never been more than 2 people killed by the same person in the same room with a gun in Australia in, 20 years? 24 years? Something like that? No, 25 years. In 25 years. That's amazing, considering that happens weekly in the United States, those gun slaughters. It's because no one in Congress will put their fucking foot down. Like, yeah, you'll lose some votes. Yeah, you'll be an unpopular senator for a bit. However, you will have saved, over the course of even just 20 years, you will have saved tens to hundreds of thousands of lives. Just get fucking stricter gun control. It's a lot faster than getting better education. They're 2 good ways of gun control. Australia shows that a very effective way of gun control is stricter laws around guns. Make sure you do background checks on people who are getting guns so you know that they're not a raving psychopath. Make it so you can't buy military issue guns on the civilian market. Make it so you can't have a pistol that's not in a gun case as a concealed weapon on your body at all times. Make it so you can't carry guns into a children's ball pit. Like, the most basic gun laws here that the States does not have. And the other way is Sweden. Sweden has very relaxed gun laws, but because their education is some of the best in the world, no one shoots each other. So that's the other way to do it. So either you need to vastly improve your education or get stricter gun law. Which one's faster? Vastly improving your education is a very lengthy process. Getting stricter gun law, you could potentially do in less than a year. Get the stricter gun law and work on the education as a long term. Jory asks, will this medicine cure Amphi? It's a reference to one of the old videos in my Let's Play of Pokemon Gold. So, no, it will not cure Amphi. Does the carpet match the drapes? Yes, like I said before in one of these videos, please ask real questions. Kimmo asks, what other languages can you speak? None. And that's the last question. I know a few individual words of different languages and stuff, but I don't speak any other language other than English. I was taught mandatory French, of course, living in Canada, so I was taught French all the way until grade 9. Most people got it till grade 10. I only got it till grade 9, but I don't remember any sentences in French. French was always something I got high marks in, but it was because I had very good presentation skills. I would just phonetically memorize the French script. I had no idea what I was saying, but I could present it really well because I know how to pronounce French words, I just don't know what they mean. So if I learn them phonetically, then I have no problem presenting them, I just don't know what they mean. So I actually did a really good in French class in elementary school and high school. So yeah, that's it for this episode. If you guys want your questions to be answered on this show, all you have to do is go to the description, click the link to the Facebook fan page. It'll take you straight to the post where I ask for questions, and you just make your comment with your questions. Until next time, have a nice day.